Welcome to Pinvest.TV, India's first real estate channel. Let's dive into latest property news from international market. The world is no stranger to war, as history has been marred by conflicts fought for survival, territory, and power. While we've all seen war dramatized in films or heard personal accounts of partition tragedies, the ongoing reality of global conflict is much more sobering. What began with the Ukraine war 2 years ago shows no signs of resolution, and the Middle East is now the center of escalating tension with the Israel-Iran conflict. Last week, Iran fired 180 missiles at Israel, escalating a battle that has already persisted for nearly a year. Israel's retaliatory strikes in response to Iran's attack on the eve of the Jewish New Year have added to the turbulence in the region. The war may be fought predominantly in the air, with fewer ground confrontations, yet the economic repercussions will be widespread, as demonstrated by a steep drop in the Indian stock market on Thursday. The Sensex plunged by 1,800 points, while the Nifty dropped by over 2%, with the oil and refinery sectors taking the hardest hit. Shares of Reliance Industries, India's most valuable company, fell by nearly 4%, while other major players like IOC, NTPC, BPCL, and HPCL also experienced significant losses. The root cause: a sharp 6% rise in Brent crude oil prices in response to Iran's involvement in the conflict. As a key OPEC member, Iran's role in the oil market is substantial, and its deepening conflict with Israel will undoubtedly affect oil prices globally, including in India, which relies heavily on Middle Eastern imports for its energy needs. The spike in oil prices could exacerbate domestic inflation at a time when state elections are around the corner, adding yet another layer of uncertainty to India's economic outlook. The global economy is already reeling from various shocks. China is considering economic stimulus measures, Japan is raising interest rates, and India, while growing, is struggling with slow manufacturing growth. Meanwhile, the US is navigating its own challenges with interest rate cuts and preparations for November elections. With all of these moving pieces, uncertainty has become the only certainty. India is in a precarious position, balancing strong ties with both Israel and its Middle Eastern trade partners. Bilateral trade with Gulf nations is around $190 billion, and remittances from Indian workers in the Gulf form a critical part of India's foreign exchange reserves. Any disruption in the region could have significant repercussions on both trade and remittances. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, will meet next week for its monetary policy review, and the Israel-Iran conflict will undoubtedly be on the agenda. A continued spike in oil prices could stoke inflation, forcing the RBI to take preemptive measures. The appointment of 3 new members to the RBI's Monetary Policy Committee also adds another layer of complexity to the situation. In the global context, the uncertainty surrounding the Israel-Iran conflict only adds to the tumultuous year the world has already experienced. The conflict in Ukraine, once thought to be one-sided, continues to surprise as Ukraine has regained some Russian-controlled territories. The US Federal Reserve's much-anticipated rate cuts, which had been discussed since January, finally came in September, though their impact was already factored in by many. India, too, has been waiting for its economic sectors to recover. The post-pandemic boom faded last year, and since then, the country has struggled with a rural slowdown, slow capital expenditure growth, and lagging job creation. Many companies have reported profits thanks to favorable commodity pricing, but sales remain sluggish. Just as signs of recovery were beginning to emerge, new geopolitical tensions have cast a long shadow over the future. In this uncertain world, one thing is clear: wars are no longer distant possibilities. They are shaping the reality of our present, and their economic consequences will ripple far beyond the battlefield. We value your input. Your feedback shapes our content. Thanks for watching Pinvest TV.